Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. You're tuned in to the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. Assalamu alaikum, Eid Mubarak, peace and blessings to everyone. You're tuned into the Sajdah Saturday Morning Coffee Talks, and I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad, and we're going to be talking today about the drama behind Slander. All right, so sit back, tune in, and don't go anywhere. Get your coffee. I'm drinking water today because I've been thirsty for a whole 30 days. All right, we'll see you soon. Sit back and relax.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judges, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings. Eid Mubarak. Did y'all eat up everything yesterday and drink up everything in sight? I see y'all in the chat, Brother Lamont. Wa alaikum salam and good morning. Happy Saturday, Mom. And let's see. Sister Leisha. Assalamu alaikum, sis. Sister Lanisha. Brother Carlos. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to everyone. I see y'all popping in here. Welcome and welcome, welcome, welcome. So, Ramadan's over, and I hope you guys had a great fasting month. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Alita. So, we got a little tough subject today to talk about, right? It's not tough if you don't slander people, but if you engage in slander, this is going to be a tough conversation for you. And here's why. And I'm going to read this paragraph from Brother Jibril Muhammad's book that talks about slander, because we see it every day, right? We get engaged in it. Slander becomes the news. Slander becomes the social media posts that we forward, and the cancel culture, and some of us, the way we get back at people who make us mad is we slander them. But I don't know if we really know what we're doing. So I want to play a short little clip. Somebody posted this on YouTube. The format isn't the best, but I just want you to put those words into your brain, and then I'm going to read something I'm going to read a bunch of stuff from Brother Jibril's book about slander, but I'm going to read that first paragraph. Let me read the paragraph, and then we're going to hear the minister. So Brother Jibril says, a clear sign of the world coming to an end is, and let me say this, when we're talking about the world coming to an end, we're talking about the world as we know it, and the changing of the guard, and the bottom rail being raised to the top, and the back of the line coming to the front. And we're talking about a more inclusive world. We're not necessarily talking about a scorched earth like a Will Smith movie, although that could very well happen, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about. I think when people talk about the end of the world, a lot of us kind of shut down because we're thinking, okay, we're going to be like I Am Legend and walking around eating each other. I mean, who's to say? But that's not necessarily what we're talking about. We're talking about the end and the transition of a spiritual world. And you'll get this a little bit more as we're talking here. So here we go. A clear sign of this world's end is the ever increasing number of people who gain a distorted inner satisfaction in speaking or writing about other people with malice. Wow. On matters of importance, they speak and write out of arrogance, spite, and from the spirit of contentiousness. Furthermore, far too many seem increasingly unwilling to make the required effort to justify their views, especially those unfavorable to others, before putting these views before the public. So you see this stuff out here in the internet, and you see them talking about people and treating people a certain way. And believe it or not, there's a sick mind behind it who is taking joy in it. That's why in the Nation of Islam, we're taught against slack talk and gossip and slander. Did you know you get put out of the nation for slack talk and gossip, slander? That's how serious we understand what this means. Now, check this out. This is a little clip that the minister is going to talk about, because a lot of these behaviors that we engage in so very subtly, we don't understand that they are so far away from who we are and who we should be. And they are taking us away from who we need to be. And we don't realize that it's just chipping away at our success, chipping away at why it is that we can't move forward individually and collectively, because we're acting like these savages. And this slander is something that has been used, and you'll learn this because I'm gonna read a lot from this excerpt in this book on slander. This slander is being used to control us. They call it cancel culture. It's like hating. And what we do is we listen to what other people say about folks, and then we believe it. We literally, here's an example. I had to come out this week and have a conversation about things that people were saying about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad house were really stupid. But oftentimes that's what's stopping us from donating. That's what's stopping us from moving forward. Ooh, I heard she tore all the walls out of the house. Ooh, I heard that it ain't gonna be a museum. It's an incubator space. She's gonna have a bunch of desks in there. And the way I know that the enemy or and I call it the enemy of yours standing in the way of my progress of what I'm doing, the way I know that the enemy is out there with their tools of destruction is by the questions y'all ask me. I look at my DM and somebody said, "Are there still walls in the house?" Somebody said, "Hey, I sell cubicles. I heard you were putting cubicles in there." And all kind of crazy stuff. So anyway, the minister's talking here about us being robbed of the knowledge of self. Part of being robbed of the knowledge of self is not only not knowing who you are, but it's also the knowledge of self in terms of how you should be conducting yourself. So check this out. Forgive the format. Let's see how this goes. Here we go.
That foolishness, you make a fool of yourself.
Wait, we're going to start this over. Hold on. We'll start it over because I want y'all to hear the whole thing. And the format's bad, so please forgive it.
If you feed yourself foolishness, you make a fool of yourself. And any time you waste time feeding yourself foolishness, making yourself to think and to act as the foolish, with every foolish act, you are being further and further removed from your connection to God. The black man and woman of North America and the world in general has been robbed of the knowledge of self. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, this is the worst of all robberies, to take away from a human being the knowledge of self. If you feed...
Listen. Incredible wisdom. Incredible wisdom. So Brother Jabril goes on to say, and this is from the book, Is It Possible That the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is Still Alive? And he goes into the death plots. And we learned a long time ago how to pay attention to the communication strategies that you see in the media. So I'll give you an example. I knew they was coming for Tiger Woods because I started seeing the slander. Because what they do is they assassinate you in the media, the person in the media. So when they actually kill the person, or when they actually take the person down, or when they actually do something bad to the person or cause them to be exposed for something bad that they've done, nobody cares because the assassination has already taken place in the public, in the media. So Brother Jabril in this book says, even in relatively insignificant matters, this set of evils involving slander, jealousy, and envy are increasingly evident. This is all related to the fact that slander was originally used by the wicked to get their start among the righteous 6,000 years ago in the Holy Land. They started rumors about Jesus. They started rumors about Prophet Muhammad, the slander, the lies. It's interesting that we don't necessarily see it repeating today, and we don't really understand that there's something afoot here. There's a plot. There's a plan. When they get us so comfortable with slander, and we get so comfortable, it's fair seeming, as they say in the Holy Quran says. We get so comfortable with slander, so comfortable with slack talk, so comfortable with cancel culture, so comfortable with gossip podcasts and things like that, that they're setting us up. That is literally the underlay for the overplay. We're being set up because our mind is being conditioned. We're being brainwashed. Now we're the brainwashers. We're right there on all the podcasts. We're starting podcasts, making money on the internet, talking about gossip. And we say, gossiping, we say, oh, this is headline news. We say, oh, I report what's in the headlines. No, you report the scuttlebutt that's in the headlines, and then you talk about it or you gossip about it like a gossip column, but we're being set up. Everybody is doing it. This is the same tool that was used to justify slavery. Did y'all know that? That there was a carefully crafted PR campaign that had to be created at the onset of slavery or shortly thereafter to make us look subhuman in order to take away the people's guilt for what it was that they were about to do. And that was go deeper into this shadow slavery of generation after generation after generation after generation being slaves. So once the propaganda went out there, you had the slave owner, the trainer, Willie Lynch, who went around teaching the techniques. But then in the media, their little newspapers or how they spread the word, we were cursed because we were dark. And they would say all these things. You got to be careful. We'll rape you. We're savages. They did the same thing with the continent of Africa because they knew that they were raping Africa. So what they do, they told the masses of the people that Africa was savage, that if you go over there, they might eat you. There's cannibalism. Every African leader was being made to look like a rebellious savage. Why? Because they knew they were going in there and pillaging the resources, and you wouldn't care because you think it's all babies with the flies around their mouth and people threatening to eat each other and all the cannibalism. That's what you think is there. So when you hear about, they're stealing resources, or they're going in there taking the rubber to create and the rubber trees for tires, and they're taking all the spices and they're ravaging the country, you don't think nothing of it because you've been conditioned to think that this is a continent of savages. What happens with us as a people? We are always paraded as looking subhuman. Everything negative about us makes the headlines. So when we get killed and murdered in the street, we have to go off to make anybody care about it. It's the slander that sets us up for that. So if you put these rumors out there, and there are companies that do this. If they getting ready to steal some music or some money from an artist, Michael Jackson, Prince, or something, so they put stuff out there about him. Oh, he's messing with children. Then they find him not guilty, but the propaganda's already out there. It doesn't matter. So, and then he's already messing up with doing different things to his face and all of this stuff. So you see that, and they keep exacerbating that. And he seems like he's crazy and he's doing this and that and everything, and the wacko jacko lines. So when he dies, or when they kill him and take his money, you don't really care. Think about that. It's conditioning. This is why we have to make sure that we don't accept rumors that people say about. Research stuff for yourself. See, if they say, well, Sister Sajdah tore down all the walls in the house, she's not really a real Muslim. She's gonna put incubators in there. It's really not gonna be a museum. You start saying all this stuff, and this slander starts to come, and then next thing you know, you say, well, okay, I'm not gonna donate because she's this or that. You don't even know that you've been impacted by these outlandish lies. And when I see it in my DMs and somebody says, are there still walls? Are you freaking kidding me? We was just there for Savior's Day. Y'all saw it. But your brain gets messed up because you think that this colonizer is God. You think he's God's vicegerent, or God's man, or God's person. And so when they say something, it's like, oh, Master, we sick. Oh, Master, we mad at them. Is what we saying subconsciously. Next thing you know, we don't like the person. Whatever they put out there. And they're so smart nowadays is they have Black people put the stuff out there about Black people. They don't do it. They sit back and chill. So if they want to say something about Sister Sajdah, they have Muslims say it. Or if they want to say something about Michael Jordan, they have other basketball players say it. If they want to say something about Michael Jackson, they have other entertainers to say it. And they make sure that they're Black, especially if they're using this propaganda against Black people. And then what do? We start talking about it. We believe it. They put together a whole show just to set you up for conviction. Look at R. Kelly. I'm not even saying that R. Kelly is innocent, but the propaganda that went out to create that case, in front of that case, by the time he went to court, he didn't stand a chance. But you have other white people, don't make it right, but you have other white people or people who didn't have the propaganda campaign against them. They over in France, in Italy, in Africa, somewhere chilling with no charges against them. But then this man's facing 30 years. Doesn't make the actions of either of them right, but it makes the actions of how they did it unfair. Okay, let's go on. So then Brother Jabril says, slander, according to the Holy Quran, was to be and is now being used by them to try to overcome the aims and purposes of the great Mahdi, Master Muhammad, who has recently made his appearance and revealed himself. Slander is being used now by the wicked to try to defeat the righteous now at the end of their evil time and rule in the world. And if you remember at Savior's Day, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said to us that truth was our salvation. Truth will set us free. I'm paraphrasing here. What he actually said, I wrote it down. I was studying that speech the other day. He said, truth is the most necessary ingredient for our salvation. Put that in the chat. Truth is the most necessary ingredient for our salvation. Somebody sent me something the other day, and I said, you know what? We should fact check this. We need to make sure before we repeat it, before we put it out there. And if we do put it out there, we have to say, according to such and such and such and such, and I'm not sure if it's real, or let people know you haven't fact checked it. Okay. Then he says that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that disagreement is like a lighted fuse. He was referring to a law of nature. The more intense that these hostilities develop among people in the very nature of things, the closer we get to the most terrific of all explosions. Every indicator points to it. The increase of these evils are playing the nations of the earth into the most terrible of all wars, and it's the war of Armageddon. Okay, so let's talk about disagreements. and dissatisfactions and us not liking each other. Right before the pandemic, I was in Benin and I went to the Kingdom of Dahomey, which is where the Woman King movie was actually filmed. I was actually in that palace and I actually saw the burning sands and I saw the slave malls and everything. And I had an interpreter who taught us about the original Amazon warriors or the Woman King warriors. And in King Dahomey's time, there were several King Dahomeys. So that each child that came into power, he was a Dahomey, so he was King Dahomey. It was the last King Dahomey, or the young one, that was depicted in the Woman King that actually ended the Dahomey rule and the slave trade and all of that. But prior to that, I think there might have been like 5 or 6 generations of Dahomey kings. And I want to preface this by saying their definition of slavery was not chattel slavery. Doesn't make it right, but they had a different definition of slavery. By the time the Europeans got a hold of it, it was chattel slavery, and you were enslaved year after year, generation after generation. We all know them. We all know what chattel slavery is. But these disagreements and these disappointments in many cases is what set it off. It's let me tell you something. Our history as Black people here in the Americas, across the diaspora, is very complicated. Okay. So King Dahomey, if he would disagree with somebody, there was a trade difference or had an issue with you, he could put you into slavery. They would slander you and say things about you and then capture you and enslave you. That's how he had so many wives. That's how they ended up with all the female soldiers, because a lot of the women, either they kind of made it like the young girl wouldn't cooperate. And that could very well have been true. But in many cases, she as a young girl would have been given to King Dahomey. Why? Because that her father or husband may have had a disagreement, and he either would take them or they would be given to them to satisfy the disagreement. So as long as we're not united, and as long as we're tribalized and siloed, then those differences can be exacerbated. And once the differences are magnified, I'll put it that way, once those differences are magnified, and then they bring in slander, and it makes the differences seem even bigger. So if you hear about somebody on the other side of the fence going down, whether they have a fall from grace or whether they get killed or murdered, you don't care. You don't come to their aid and assistance because you don't see them as your brother or sister, because you've been living in this vortex of slander about them. And so that's why I always try to have empathy towards people when I see them going through something or I see them dealing with something. You don't kick a person while they're down. You don't look bad upon a person while they're down. And that's also why you see me supporting other Black businesses and trying to help, because we are so brainwashed into living through our differences that most of us as entrepreneurs, when we start doing business, when we start doing a project, we're on our own. But guess what? You can take a regentrified neighborhood and a white person can come in and open a coffee shop. And next thing you know, everybody's at the coffee shop. It's so many people at the coffee shop, right, that you can't get in there. And it makes you want to go more. And then we, because we don't know who we are, and this great sin that's been committed against us made us think we're nothing, we start thinking, oh, they know something we don't. They're smarter than us. Their coffee tastes better. Their ice is colder. They got a network of people. It's something about them. Really? Why does that have to be in comparison of who we are? You know what it is? It's just their unity. But we have to be conscious about that. The reason why I keep talking about that is because we have to make ourselves be united. We have to force ourselves to support, because they've changed our nature so much that by nature we don't even support. I'll drive an extra few miles to go support my brother or sister. I'll go and pay a couple extra dollars to support my brother or sister. I'll tell you about, look, try to support this sister or this brother. Why? Because we have to consciously make ourselves do that. We have to consciously tell ourselves, let's pool our resources. Let's donate. Let's support. Let's buy consciously, because it's been taken away from us. And you don't have to tell white people that to do that consciously. They just hear about it and they go support. They don't necessarily support you. You open up a coffee shop in the neighborhood that's newly regentrified, and they don't necessarily come. Not in the droves that they do when their own people open up stuff. It's in our brain. It's in our brainwashing. See, the slander. Somebody said, oh, well, he got that coffee shop. I heard he used to sell drugs. Or he got that coffee shop. I don't know about that. I heard he a Muslim. Or he got that coffee shop, and I heard that coffee coming from Colombia, and it might be something else going on with it. But you don't say that when you're standing in line at the white coffee shop. You don't even ask what kind of coffee Starbucks serve. And most of the time the beans are burnt, but you go there and drink it anyway. You stand in line because we've been conditioned. You won't stand in that long line that's going around the corner at the black coffee shop, but you'll go to Starbucks and get coffee where they've over roasted the beans. And a lot of times it's actually burnt and it tastes all strong and acidic and bittery. And you get it anyway. You just load it up with cream and sugar. You standing there at their little counter. You just stirring and stirring. Oh, how you doing? Good morning. Yes. Mm-hmm. You got to move over and move out the way because other people trying to come and get access to the trash can and the cream. But you standing there trying to get rid of this burnt taste in the coffee. You ain't asking no questions. But if that was a black coffee shop, let me tell you something. Y'all would have it on the internet. I don't know what's wrong with their coffee. It tastes burnt. Took me forever to get it. I waited all this time. And then it was $12 for a cup of coffee. Come on now. Y'all know, tell me in the chat. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. You know I'm telling the truth. Most of us don't even know what real coffee tastes like because we so busy drinking this burnt up coffee. We have some real coffee. You don't even know what it tastes like. This burn up coffee with additional caffeine added to it. We don't ask where it's from. We don't ask what this is. We don't ask to see the ingredients. We just go and just sit outside and hang out. I'm guilty too. I'm not telling you nothing I haven't done. But what about the black coffee shop? Oh, I heard dude is a trip. Don't go to his coffee shop. What? This is conditioning. So we have to learn to force ourselves to navigate around the slander, the slack talk that's been put out there about us. And we're so conditioned, we do it ourselves. Oh, it could be a little cleaner in here. Some of y'all go to these little nasty little coffee shops. Y'all go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donut. I've been there too. We go there and it's all dirty and everything over here. And we just put a little napkin down and put our top down and just be stirring, getting our cream and sugar in the coffee. Stand at the nasty little counter. If it was a black coffee shop, you'd talk about them like a dog. This is what we have to unravel and de-brainwash ourselves from. And this is what Brother Jabril is talking about in his book. The distorted words that have been given to us that have messed our brains up and our heads up to where we can't even see each other properly. We see a brother out on the street and he's selling t-shirts. We like, wish he'd just go away. But you about to go spend $20 over here and get some burnt coffee that you got to add all this cream to. Why don't you get a brother the $20? It ain't going to hurt you. Some people say, well, I ain't giving him no $20. He probably finna buy some drugs. You don't know what they buying over here in this white coffee shop you going to when you pay them their money. And I'm not trying to rag on coffee shops. I'm just using that as an example. You don't know what they doing with the money. They could be using the money to support child labor over in Africa. You don't say nothing. They could be using the money to promote selling you fake food that's poisoning your body and giving you diabetes and high blood pressure, but you don't say nothing. But you don't want to get a brother on the corner $20 because you think he can ready to go buy a rock. But you go up in this restaurant and eat food, give your money to them so they can serve you back fake food and pre-processed poison food. What's wrong with us? It's the conditioning. And this is why on the Mind of an Entrepreneur panel, we're working to unravel that. It's an activism that I've been on for years now so that we can stop doing this to one another. It starts with the slander and the propaganda. You watch the news, it's a carefully crafted PR campaign. But we go along with it. We believe it. We the ones really believe in it. And let me say it this way. We're the ones who it really impacts the most because it impacts our behavior because we don't have another standard that we hold on to. And when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes out and says, no slack talk, no gossip, stop wanton criticism of everything Black, we say, I ain't thinking about him because they said that they killed Malcolm X. He didn't, and we didn't. And now they owe us some money because now the FBI agent then came out and said that they even was giving him fake mouth to mouth. Malcolm was trying to get back. Malcolm has brought more people to Islam in his death. Were people mad at him? Yes, they were mad at him. Did he apologize? Yes, he did. It's on the internet. You can Google it. He apologized. There was a letter and a recording of his apology. But they swarmed in on him like a pack of hyenas because they now had some slander and gossip. And the real reason is because they thought they would be able to use the slack talk, the slander, the gossip, and the PR that they were creating around Malcolm to get to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but he escaped their death plot. That was the real reason for it. So whatever he's telling us, they didn't quite have us all the way brainwashed yet, and they didn't know how powerful Allah is and how much he backed him. So when they came up with all these lies to try to shut him down. Why they want to shut him down? Because they want you to slack talk. They want you to gossip. They want you to eat pork. They want you to be adulterers and fornicators. They want you to kill one another and murder one another because there's profit that they make off of our behaviors. It can be controlled. So that's what they want. So he said, we got to shut this man down. He can't be telling them to get themselves together. He can't be telling them to unite. He can't be telling them to do for self mentally, physically, spiritually. He can't be telling them to find themselves in the Bible and the Holy Quran that they really are the chosen people of God. We got to stop that. So you whispering to his most powerful spokesperson? Now you don't want to listen. I can't really listen to Elijah Muhammad because he was messing around with some teenage secretaries. First of all, wasn't nobody no teenager. Do the math. And most of us know, and if you don't know, newsflash, a lot of powerful men in Islam have more than one wife. Newsflash. You watch films about that all the time. Is it a common practice that we use as lay people in the nation? No, it's not. But he had more than one wife. Let that settle in your brain. I said it. So the point I'm saying with this is the lies. Most of us got fathers and grandfathers and brothers and uncles, and Papa was a rolling stone. Let's say you don't believe nothing about Islam and you don't know nothing about in Islam. There are people who do have more than one wife. Let's say you don't know nothing about that, but you a rolling stone yourself. Papa was a rolling stone. He got a whole nother family over here across. You ain't saying nothing about that. So we got to get over this, cut our people some slack. If we got to pull our people to the side and say, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's happening? I heard this or that. Is it true? But we don't. We react off of what we hear, the big old lies, and we just keep going and going and going and going. Then we add to it. Then we say, oh, I heard Minister Farrakhan was the one who killed Malcolm. He wasn't even there in the Audubon ballroom. And y'all know daggone well that if he did, that the police would have been then locked him up. So it's just, we don't do the math. Our mathematical thinking is just off. And like the minister said, let me go back here. Go to your Bible, in case I'm being a little too Quranic for some of y'all. Go to Hosea 4:6. It says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge about what? Lack of knowledge about the day and time in which we live. Lack of knowledge about how we should be conducting ourselves. Lack of knowledge about how we should be moving and the things that we should be doing and the things we should not be engaging in. See, slack talk, gossip, that's for low level people. That's not for black gods like us. Taking advantage of somebody when they're down, not supporting one another, not loving one another. That's not for the gods. That's for the people who follow the folks who are babies on this planet. See, white people are babies on this planet. They only been here 6,000 years. We've been here trillions of years. But we following the babies around. And you see this playing out in the everyday life. It's a tool they use even during slavery. So you have a younger person come out and whatever they doing, if they doing something deviant, you see older people like, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to dress like that. I'm going to act like that. That's how I need to roll. No, you the God. I think it was Dr. George Fraser yesterday at the conference. We were having a debriefing meeting, and he was saying, it's a journal. I'll get the information today, either the New England Journal of Medicine or some report that says the most optimal years of your life should be between the ages of 50 and 70. Which is interesting, right? Because what the studies are showing is that obviously at 20 and 30, you don't know what you're doing. You're figuring out what you're doing. But if you understand your life as a continuum, it's like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said to me, Sister Alita there, she was there, she can bear witness. He said, Allah has been preparing you for this your entire life, even before you were born. So could I have done what I'm doing now at 20? No, because he still had some more preparation to do. Could you have done what you're doing now at 40? No, because he still had some preparation to do. So all you're doing is taking that next step. When you take that next step, what did he say? First things first, second things never. So the first thing that you should be doing is the very next thing that you need to be doing. Don't worry about steps 2, 3, and 4 because he's preparing you for that. He's preparing you for that. That's why people win the lottery or they become millionaires at 20 or 30, and oftentimes it doesn't stick. It's a preparation process. So right now, you should be optimizing yourself physically. You should be optimizing yourself mentally. You should be optimizing yourself spiritually. Because if you're in that age range, you're ready for the big assignment that you probably couldn't have done. See, when you think, let me say it this way. When you're in your 20s or you're in your 30s and you think whatever it is that you're doing is the best thing that ever could have been done, and that nothing else comes after this, that's why a lot of people kind of tend to go downhill. You're just getting started. You're just ramping up. It's preparation. All the pain, all the struggle, all the challenges is preparing you. So that's the optimal age. But these babies on the planet will have you thinking that you should be following a 19-year-old. And so now you look and you see people and they between the ages of 50 and 70, they dressing like the strippers because they think it's cute. They think, oh, this is how I'm going to be fly. This is how I'm going to be hip. I'm going to dress like that. It's what they do. Or they tell us, well, the young people, this is how they act. So this is how you got to act in order to be hip, in order to be cool. So instead of acting out your wisdom, you say, oh, okay, my daughter dresses like this. So you see mothers and daughters dressed alike. See the little 14-year-old girl, she got a little mini skirt on and a little belly top because that's what she wear to cheerleading practice. And then here the mama is, she's 60, she wearing it too. What are we doing? We're following these babies around. Anyway, okay, last thing, I'm going to say it again. The minister said to us that truth is the most necessary ingredient for our salvation. Nurse yourself on the truth. Follow the truth. You see something, don't believe everything that's on the internet. Don't believe everything that's on the television, in a movie. I don't even know if y'all even realize that the president of the country don't even run the country. That's a whole nother subject. But because we believe all the propaganda and all the hype, we believe whatever these folks tell us. But you got to do your research. You got to study today in this world. Look for the truth. The truth is the most necessary ingredient for our salvation. John chapter 8, verse 32, Jesus said, we shall know the truth and the truth will what? Set us free. Okay. And we need to be set free from the bondage that has gripped us. I'm paraphrasing the minister there. And we'll never be happy if we're afraid to speak the truth. Never be happy if we're afraid to speak the truth. And look, this is another thing. We so scared to speak the truth that when we tell the truth, we got to get real animated with it. I keeps it real. Let me tell you something about myself. I'm a grown ass woman. I'm a grown man. We got to do all that theatrical preparation before we tell the truth. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm going to tell it. Why you got to do all that before you tell the truth? Just tell the truth. Just tell it. You can be diplomatic. You can be smart. You can be sweet about it. You can be direct. You ain't got to do all the extra in order to just tell the truth. But that's what we do. Some of us don't tell the truth unless somebody make us mad. Then once they make us mad, then all bets are off. The filters are gone. We finna tell it. It's going down. But it's like we got to have, some kind of extra emotion just to nurse the truth. A lot of times before we even believe the truth, something bad has to happen to us. We be looking at something, especially us as women with intuition. We be in a relationship and we looking at this thing and we know it ain't right. We know he didn't come home last night. We know he didn't call when he normally calls. We know he said something crazy that didn't sound right. We know he messed around with this girl over here, but we don't tell the truth until we get embarrassed, until there's some major incident that causes an overwhelming emotion that gives us the courage to tell the truth. Why we couldn't nurse the truth from the beginning? Sister Marva just said the truth stands on its own. We don't nurse it because reason why we don't let the truth stand on its own, and reason why we don't believe it is because we've been so conditioned to believe in a spook God. And the spook God belief, meaning that God is not real, God don't love us, he's something floating away out in the sky. So that spookiness that we have nursed ourselves on our entire life transcends over into the rest of our life. So if something is really going down, let's say in our relationship, we don't believe it. We believe in the spook God. But you got to call it. You got to call a spade a spade. What does that mean? You may not even necessarily verbalize it, but you better recognize the truth. It's like you see a car coming at you head on. You better get out of the way. I bet you the spook God ain't going to come save you. I'm being silly now. But the point of the matter is let go of this worship of slander. Stop letting people's slanderous things impact you. And this was just born out of some of the questions that I was getting from you guys. And I said, what is wrong with us? The stuff sounds so outlandish to me. Are there no walls in the house? You can look online and there's so many pictures that have been posted. Yes, there's walls in the house. It's unbelievable. But the people who start these rumors, they know that most of us are so weak and we want to believe in the spook God so bad that we're going to believe it. So when Sister Sajdah puts under the screen, buy a coin, cash app a donation, blah, 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 we're not going to do it. Even if it's something that sounds crazy. Even if it's something that sounds crazy. That's how we respond. And they know that. So let's be careful. Okay. Let's be careful. This slanderous world that we live in is America, unfortunately. Gossip magazines. You can't even check out in the grocery store without all the gossip magazines with the lies and the rumors. And some of us are entertained by it. We only watch programs sometimes that tell lies because we love it. I won't even say it's a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure. This is what we do. Shows called The Gossip Such and Such, podcasts where all they do is just gossip, pick up a headline and they gossip about it and they add on to it. I think the worst thing that could have ever happened was the 24-hour news cycle. I know people thought it was a good idea, but over the course of 24 hours, it's only so many times you can say the same thing over and over again before you distort the truth. How do you distort the truth? Now you got this panel coming on and this talking head talking about the same subject. Why not go find something else to talk about? There's good stuff that's happening out here in the world. There are those of us who are really doing good and great things. But you don't hear about that unless it's paid for by the PR team that supports the Black person that's quote unquote doing something good. So if it's a celebrity or an entertainer and they go and give away some chili on Christmas, then it's headline news. Why? Because they paid for it to be headline news. Somebody put out a press release and paid the outlets to pick it up. And when the outlets pick it up and it hits the AP, it comes on the news and you're like, oh, so-and-so, they went and gave out chili on Christmas. But you may have Sister Sajdah over here building a museum. You don't care about that. You want to go down here and get the free chili because it's a celebrity that's doing it. You got Sister Carmela giving away food during Ramadan to feed the poor. You don't want that to be headline news. You got people You got so many Black people in our community who give and support and do so many things. But we don't hear about that. That's why I do the Mind of an Entrepreneur show and the Mode Today series on Black Muslim businesses, so you can see Black people doing good. You can see Black excellence, because guess what? It's a lot of us out here doing good. It's a lot of us that are navigating through the vicissitudes of all of this drama. There's a lot of us out. There are financial planners like Sister Aletha in the chat here who is not going to cheat you, who's not going to lie to you. You don't have to believe that hype, even about the profession. She's not going to do that. She's going to give you the right advice. So instead of taking up with the white man and what he's taught us over the years about his ice being colder, hopefully y'all understand that phrase. Let's go with the truth. Let's try our family out. Let's try supporting our family. Let's try the products and services of Black people, because it ain't nothing like Black excellence. So Brother LG says, anybody knows that in a renovation, restoration, you will have to knock down walls for different reasons. How are you going to get the plumbing and electrical? Yeah, and the sad part about it is, Brother LG, we didn't even knock down the walls to do that. We just surgically did it. But they said I took all the walls out, that when you walk in there, there's no walls. That's not even possible from a construction standpoint, because you have some walls that are support walls. Okay, with your dumb self. Some walls are support walls. So you can't just knock out all the walls in a building unless you build it like that, and you're building it so you can have that open cavernous space. But other than that, you can't just do that and have the building still standing, especially a building that was made in 1902. So no. There's walls there. All the rooms are intact. The wood is about 95% intact. We're not putting incubator spaces in there. There'll be a few people working there because somebody got to run the museum. We got security. They got some cubicles in the basement where they're going to be sitting there, where they can come with their radios and look at the camera, make sure ain't nothing happening. So yes, and yes, there'll be some of those, but the whole place ain't going to be filled with no damn cubicles with folks working up in there, just walking in there and that's their office. Are you kidding me? But people believe it because they DM me, ma'am, are you having applications for the people who are going to occupy the incubator space in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? What? You think I spent $5 million to make an incubator space for y'all to come work and drink burn up Starbucks coffee? This is a museum. Look at this. He lives. SajdahHouse.com. It is for the upliftment of the teachings and the work and the accomplishments of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. You will be able to come there and have what? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad experience. So don't fall for the okie doke. Please don't fall for the okie doke. Become a sponsor, purchase a coin. You can get a coin at SajdahHouse.com. You can make a donation at SajdahHouseDonations.com, or you can cash app us at $Mode Today. That's $MoeToday. You can do that. But support your sister, because there's some other major initiatives that I'm working on that have come out of this house that we're the vanguard for. So become a part of history. It's time for us to own and monetize our authentic self. All right. So with that, did y'all know that today was the day that our beloved Prince passed away? Well, my beloved, I don't know if y'all beloved him like that, but yeah, today was the day. And so I woke up playing a little Prince music, and I thought that we might just go. They're going to take this down. They're probably going to take it down anyway, because I'm talking about slander and how they be lying and making up stuff. And probably once I play this Prince song, they're going to probably really take it down. So just download it or something real quick. if you need to. I'm going to save it and download it so we can still have it and use it in some other way. But I'm sure they're going to take it down. But I'm going to take us out today while y'all going and making y'all donations and getting your coins, and you going to Cash App and you going to SajdahHouseDonations.com. I'm going to take us out to this Prince song. It's called America. A lot of y'all never heard of this one, but that's what we're going to leave out, and we're going to close out on today. So don't go nowhere. Stay here. Check this video out. Enjoy it. Have a little fun today. Let me grab it. And if you can, I'm going to make it bigger. And if you can hear it,
Prince and the Revolution.
give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
'Cause